No, I just want to say that Aaron, I love what you have been doing, and you have just been the tip of the spear in making escaping centralized control an actual sport.
I love it, yeah.
We now have the ability that we can acquire a non-KYC credit card and be able to use it at retail with private crypto. And I think for people to learn how to do that, if memory serves, your website to begin that journey, which everyone should pursue, is freedomforge.io. Is that correct?
Yeah, freedomforge.io is one of 5 sites that I'm rolling out, but this one's already live. And the whole purpose of this is to provide free guides and videos and online resources to onboard people to the Zaino ecosystem, but it's also a place for innovators and developers to meet and to incubate new projects that can defeat the technocratic threat. So in other words, we need solutions for healthcare marketplaces, food marketplaces, all of that. And those things can be built on Zaino, and I want this website to serve as a gathering place for people who say, well, yeah, I know what's going on right now in this centralized system is bad, and I'm worried about technocracy. Well, what am I going to do about it? Well, the truth of the matter is the amount of economic opportunity is unlimited in terms of building these private marketplace alternatives. And so this site kind of houses that as well. But when you go to Freedom Forge, there's a Start Here button that walks through the very simple process of here's how you go and download a wallet, here's how you buy Zaino, here's how you swap for Zaino. There's another guide for how to sell goods and services for Zaino. So if you have WooCommerce, which is a very popular plugin for WordPress, which 850 million sites use WordPress, now you can accept Zaino and Freedom Dollar, which is we'll talk about, I'm sure, separately, a privacy stablecoin built on Zaino. And then there are also instructions on how to acquire one of these non-KYC debit cards using Zaino and Freedom Dollar. So all of that information is available at freedomforge.io.
Now, a quick question. Is this debit card, is it a physical card for in-person purchases, or is it a virtual card for online purchases, or both?
Well, it's a virtual card, but it's accepted at 100 million places worldwide, and you can actually tie it to your Google and Apple Wallet. And I know, look, ideally what we're trying to do is ultimately move to peer-to-peer transactions where people are using crypto directly, but this is a good intermediate step. So you can be up and online in like 10 minutes with this card.
It would sure be cool to be able to use privacy crypto to, cover everyday grocery purchases, things like that.
It's a massive use case. You can do everything. And now you can make your Bitcoin and Ethereum private using Zaino.
Wow.
There's something called confidential layer. That's live now. And not only is it live, there's a feature if you download a wallet called Edge Wallet, you can actually swap your Bitcoin for private Bitcoin right within the wallet. You don't even have to go through a whole bunch of extra steps. It's just like swapping any cryptocurrency right from within one wallet.
Tell us about Freedom Dollar, because that's something that you have mentioned. I honestly don't know anything about Freedom Dollar. Can you give us the overview?
Freedom Dollar is a privacy stablecoin. And so when I say that, let's talk about where the world is on stablecoins. So we had this Genius Act that was passed, which is essentially a backdoor CBDC. So the government, it's the U.S. Congress that's responsible for financial surveillance, the financial surveillance of our existing system. All of the Know Your Customer laws, anti-money laundering, Patriot Act, all of that comes from Congress. And what this Genius Act has done is it's taken popular stable coins, and a stable coin is just a coin that's pegged to the dollar. So where one coin equals $1. And, for whatever reason, still globally, people like to price things in dollars. Hopefully that will change at some point, but that's not changing in the near term. And these stable coins are really popular. Last year, there was $27 trillion worth of stablecoin transactions done globally, which is more than Visa. And so what the government did was they said, well, we're not passing a CBDC. Instead, we're doing the Genius Act. And so what they've done is they've taken something that's popular, Tether, USDC, and other stablecoins, and put them under regulatory oversight of Congress. And they also have to report to the Federal Reserve.
And they have to buy treasuries.
And they have to buy treasuries. So this is being used to fund government debt. Our Treasury Secretary has said we're going to be able to sell, at least $2 trillion worth of treasuries through this Genius Act by requiring stablecoin issuers to back their stablecoins with treasuries. And so this is problematic. Now
that's why I call them unstable coins, because the dollar's unstable. I mean, the name is exactly the opposite of what it is.
As is always the case with these things. It should be the Ingenious Act, though. What they've done is remarkable, because there are a lot of people that think that crypto is about freedom money. Think about the original promise of crypto. The original promise of crypto was, here's a currency that you can use that's not controlled by central banks, not controlled by the state, that enables people to just engage in trade all over the world. A stable coin is a digital token that is programmable, trackable, and censorable, that's now backed by the dollar. I mean, it's the opposite.
The worst of both worlds, yeah.
It is the worst of all possible worlds. And so, but nevertheless, they're very popular. What Freedom Dollar is an alternative to this. Oh, one last thing. So stable coins are easily confiscatable, and they have been. Tether and USDC work with law enforcement all over the world, and you will see a notice every week about, a major freezing of these stable coins. So Freedom Dollar is the opposite of that. It's a privacy stable coin. So it's still one token still equals $1, but it's not backed by treasuries. It's what's called an algorithmic stable coin. It's backed by over-collateralized Zano. So it's a token built on Zano, and the whole point of Zano is that you can create tokens that represent other assets, but that have the same privacy and the same functionality of Zano itself. And so now it's a token built on Zano that is pegged to the dollar, but not backed by treasuries, and it's completely private, can't be frozen, can't be tracked. And so this to me is a really compelling use case, and it's been growing pretty rapidly. And now with this MasterCard and everything else and point of sale systems, I think you're going to see just massive demand for Freedom Dollar globally.
Wow.
Is that there's this big gap between how much freedom we think we have and how much freedom we actually have today, not in the future, not what might happen. And one of the biggest areas where you can see this is with what are called click-wrap agreements. So we have been conditioned over the last, few decades to just sign these long agreements. You scroll through them, nobody ever reads them because you couldn't. I think now at last count, the average American signs 250 click-wrap agreements a year, which would take you almost 2 hours a day.
Wow.
Every day of the year just to read. And even if you read them, there's not anything you can really do about it. It's not like you can redline the agreement and send it back. So I've built a thing to analyze these contracts. You paste a link, and then it'll actually score the contract based on how many rights you've given up in terms of privacy, in terms of your data, in terms of your economic ownership, so on and so forth. So to actually demystify these agreements so that people can see what's actually happened. And I'm convinced at this point that we've already given up 80% of our rights, and that the way that technocracy is going to be ushered in is actually through centralized tokenization, which you're seeing more and more of. We have stable coins, which are a form of tokenization, and now the government is pushing the Clarity Act, which will tokenize stocks, bonds, and commodities, which is going to basically add surveillance to all of our assets, not just money. So once one of these tokens represents one of these contracts where we've given up all of our rights, then in a financial crisis, with a push of a button, they're going to be able to basically confiscate people's assets, not just money, but everything that you own that they can digitize through this centralized tokenization system.
What about the people who are going to say, yeah, but there's nothing that we can do about it? I mean, if I really want to get the clicks for my Instagram page, I'm going to have to click their agreement. You know, what do you say to that, Aaron?
Well, I mean, again, you're already 80% of the way to owning nothing. So the question now is, do you want to be forced into a complete digital prison, or do you want to start building alternatives? And so you can build alternatives to all of these things. And so there's, as much as I talked about tokenization being the key for how technocracy flourishes, private tokenization is the way that we fight back and how we build counters to those technocracy threats. But I will say also, people should be very concerned about social media and social media algorithms. There's this misconception that we have freedom of speech. 70% of social media traffic is fake. They're bots, basically.
Yep.
And then when you're
arguing with bots.
You're arguing with bots, but then when Musk says freedom of reach, not freedom of speech, he's algorithmically determining what you can see and what you can't see. So basically, algorithmically, he's determining what you can and cannot see, and you have no idea how that functions. But they use rage. When you actually look at what kind of algorithms they prefer and how they use them and tweak them, it's all about rage baiting. And he has the ability now to sway elections, but do it in a way that's very subtle. So you move 1 or 2% by tweaking this algorithm, and it affects the outcome of the election. And furthermore, when you dig into some of these other platforms, like Rumble, for instance, the one thing that I find interesting is, so the investors in Rumble include J.D. Vance, Peter Thiel, you have Vivek Ramaswamy, now you have Howard Lutnick through his firm, our commerce secretary. Trump is a majority shareholder in Truth Social. I mean, can you imagine a situation if Joe Biden was still president and he was the majority owner of a media network?
I know. Everybody would be screaming about it.
So we need to build private, uncensorable, free alternative platforms for all of these things. And by the way, the Instagram thing that you mentioned, I mean, they're just using this to manipulate your dopamine anyway and to influence what and how you think. So people would be well advised to get off of that anyway. A few weeks back, 17 countries representing, I believe, 3 billion people signed into law digital IDs, and they use the same PR firm and the same marketing to explain financial inclusion and why they're doing it and so on and so forth. These 17 countries use the same 3 vendors to roll this out. So this is a coordinated global situation. But then you go one step further and you look at the United States. The United States has passed Real ID. Real ID is already digital in 11 states in the United States today. By the end of this year, 20 more states are supposed to come online. So we're talking about over 30 states in the U.S. will have digital ID, and nobody's talking about it yet. Yeah, I mean, I would say it's urgent that we start building and using alternative systems now. It used to be when I started doing this, I was warning people about what was going to happen. Now I'm describing largely things that have already happened that people aren't aware of.
Yeah.
So we actually have to move into this and start using these privacy coins, start building parallel systems for food and healthcare and everything else that can scale. We have to build those now, not plan them. We have to build them and use them immediately.
Let me give out your website, daylightfreedom.org. I want to show that on the screen, daylightfreedom.org. I want to encourage everybody to go there. And then the other one that you mentioned was this one. What is it? freedomforge.io.
freedomforge.io, and there's also the AaronDayShow.com, which I am highly I'm supporting people to look at, because this is my site for my podcast.
Got it.
But I'm trying to build a community around this as well. I want to build a community of people that are committed to taking action.